Before learning about space, I thought that I wanted to be a doctor. And this was partially influenced by the fact that my uncle is a doctor, and I just thought the job was interesting. Or in the words of 4-year-old me, pretty cool. But this all changed when my parents took me to a planetarium at the age of 4. As soon as I walked in, I saw pictures of tiny, sparkling dots in the sky and a giant telescope. I didn't really know what they were at the time, but what I did know was that it was incredibly fascinating. Since I couldn't stop yammering about it on the car ride home, and for a couple of days after that, my parents got me a picture book that depicted many aspects of space. Some include galaxies, nebulae, black holes, planets, stars, and more. It also showed some of the man-made inventions that really helped us in the space exploration, such as rockets and telescopes. But the one thing that caught my interest the most was that there were people who actually visited space. Although I could barely spell the word astronaut, I was hooked. Reading these books made me realize that there was so much beyond the Earth, so much that we haven't yet explored. I started researching more and more, which only helped build my growing interest. And sometime along the way, I came to a decision that I wanted to be up there. I want to work for NASA one day, and I won't stop until I do so. However, this soon proved to be harder than I thought. My family has had a lot of successful doctors, engineers, and entrepreneurs, but no one has really worked in the space industry before. So I really couldn't ask for advice to kind of get me into the industry. Also, I lived in India at the time, and well, you can see the problem with that. In order to work for NASA, I need to actually live in the United States. I couldn't overcome these challenges until I moved here at the age of 8. When I moved here, one of the first things that we did was visit the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. It was a great experience, and at the end of the day, I didn't want to leave. The employees literally had to kick us out. My favorite part about this experience was looking at a model of the Saturn V, the rocket that took the first Apollo men to the moon, and all of the Apollo astronauts after that. It's astonishing to believe that it was able to take them 238,900 miles away from where we usually are, which is the Earth. Although this rocket is going to be replaced by the more powerful rockets such as the Space Launch System, or the SLS, this is still the very first rocket that took us to the moon. However, after this, my urge to learn more about space kind of came to a halt. I became busy with so many different activities that I just didn't have the time to do space-related things. So it came to a relief when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and schools switched to remote learning. Now I had all the time in the world, and I could do anything that I wanted. So I joined many activities to help me further my interest in space. But none of them really did that, not until that summer. My mom was browsing a website in search of virtual camps for my sister when she stumbled upon a space camp. Luckily, I was eligible to attend, so I was so excited. At the camp, we learned about science-related topics such as rockets and Morse code. I soon became good friends with the director of this camp, and with her, I was able to get a lot of opportunities to help me get some experience in the science industry. Some of them would include creating an experiment, flying it to the atmosphere, and writing a final paper on the data that I collected. Also, we were both able to get a scholarship for me to attend another space camp. At this space camp, I met a group of girls that were passionate about space like I was. We learned about space-related and non-space-related topics. And we also bonded by doing different activities that modern-day astronauts do, such as creating a mission patch and going on the multi-axis trainer. Also, we learned about the history of space, and we had a little bit of fun by doing some NASA mission simulations. So the multi-axis trainer is the circle instrument, and that's the mission patch that we designed. I'm so glad that I got to go to this space camp and meet those group of girls, because it made me realize that there's other girls out there who are also interested in space like I am. I hope that one day I can work for NASA and look at the Earth from a distance. Along the way, I researched some astronauts, and some of them really stood out to me and were an inspiration. One of them is Kalpana Chawla. Kalpana Chawla, an Indian astronaut that moved to the United States to become an astronaut for NASA, and becoming the first Indian-born woman to go to space. Kalpana was the youngest of 4 children. As she lived in a town that preferred boys over girls, she wasn't given as many opportunities. So she didn't let this stop her. In fact, this only fueled her drive to succeed. After a lot of time, she was able to convince her parents to let her go to the Punjab Engineering College. There, she got her Bachelor of Science degree, although many people tried to stop her from doing it, since she was the only woman studying aeronautical engineering there. Then she moved to the United States to further her education. Here she studied in the University of Texas, where she earned her Master of Science degree, and the University of Colorado, where she earned her PhD in aeronautical engineering. After this, she worked for NASA under several occupations, and finally got accepted into the space program. Kalpana went on 2 flights. After her first flight, she asked NASA to invite 2 high school students from her school in India for a summer space program. Here, they got to learn more about what they did at NASA and get involved in the space industry. She provided them with the accommodations and like food and a place to stay. However, her second flight was her last. As the Space Shuttle Columbia entered the Earth, the left side hydraulic system fell to 0. Moments later, another sensor failed. It turns out that during the launch, a piece of insulation had hit the shuttle, making it splinter apart in the sky, merely 16 minutes before landing. All 7 members of the crew died that day. Although she faced a tragic end, Kalpana faced so many obstacles, and she was able to persevere through them all, becoming the first Indian-born woman in space and having a lasting impact in the world with all the programs that she ran. I strive to be like her, and I hope I can do what she did and more. However, this might be hard for me, as 1 in every 5 space industry workers are female, and only 11% of the astronauts so far are actually women. This has been getting better over the past few years, though. because the number of supervisors that are female have risen by 59%, and the number of aeronautical engineers and engineers that are female have risen by 76% and 20% respectively. NASA has also started a program called the Artemis program to send the first woman and the next man to the moon. It's been over 50 years since the first man went to the moon, and no woman has been to the moon yet. And I'm so glad that over the next 4 years, the first woman will be able to go to the moon. This mission is named after Artemis, the Greek goddess of the moon. Her brother is Apollo, who the first moon missions were named after. Artemis is strong and resilient, just like the women that have been making strides for themselves. Kalpana Chawla, although she faced a tragic end, she set the stage for women like me and my fellow space admirers. Women like her are an example of why we should adjust our focus and change the unchangeable disadvantages and use them as an incentive to work harder. There's always going to be another mountain, but if we're able to persevere through it, there's nothing we can't do. Thank you.